Ladies and gentlemen, public service announcement. Do not browse X before going to sleep. It's a mistake that I've made time and time and time again. Because last night, I saw one of the most despicable, disgraceful, disgusting things I've ever seen in a quote-unquote professional wrestling ring. And that's a hard quote-unquote because nothing about that was professional, nothing about that was pro wrestling. And of course, I'm talking about the incident that happened where one Raja Jackson, don't even know who the hell this kid is. Apparently the son, one of the kids of Quinton Rampage Jackson, didn't even know this person existed. Didn't even know Rampage Jackson had any offspring. Don't care about Rampage either. But this kid literally attempts a homicide in a professional wrestling ring, quote unquote professional wrestling ring. This guy attempts murder on some man in a ring. And I did research, I looked up what happened prior to it. That's what everybody says, right? Hey, what caused him to do this? First of all, I don't care if Psycho Stu, the name of the victim, by the way, and he's definitely in my prayers. I hear that he's making a recovery, thank God. And I know damn well Raja is thanking God too that man woke up and he's making a recovery as of this recording. But you know, I don't care if he ran over your dog, you know, keyed your car, stole something from you. You do not beat a man like that under any circumstances, especially in that type of scenario. Let's dive into what happened prior to this shit show. By the way, this is Knox Pro Wrestling Academy. This is a wrestling school owned and operated by none other than Rikishi, WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi. And let me just say right now, if I'm Rikishi, I'm shutting down this whole operation indefinitely out of sheer embarrassment. But it might not even take embarrassment to do it. I'm sure WWE are going to drop the hammer on him because guess what? WWE is affiliated with this Bush League by way of the WWE ID Association. So yeah, his little promotion, his little Bush League needs to be held accountable for this shit. That's why I keep quoting pro wrestling, because what I witnessed was not pro wrestling. And I'm not just talking about the incident itself, but I'm talking about the officials, the referee looking like an absolute clown with his dick in his hand, the bookers, the promoter, whoever approved of this spot, they should all be held liable and accountable for what happened to Mr. Psycho Stu, who apparently is an Army veteran, a retired Army veteran who suffers from PTSD from being in the Army and uses professional wrestling as an outlet to escape. You can't make this shit up, man. Prior to this shit show, Raja happened to be in a... What kind of name is that anyway? What kind of name? Raja. This dude sounds like he's the Maharaja from Bengali or something. What does that even mean, Raja? Anyway, this Raja kid is there in attendance at this mud show, this indie mud show, that's what I'm calling it. And apparently Psycho Stu came out and he cracked the kid with an empty beer can. I've literally been hit harder with my mama's chancla as a kid. Okay? I've been hit harder by my mama with the chancla when I was a kid. But this Psycho Stu guy, he cracks Raja Jackson with an empty beer can. Okay? And of course, like anybody, Raja walks up on him and, you know, starts confronting, like, what the fuck, man? And everybody around him, other workers, quote unquote, I use that word very, very loosely, other professionals, quote unquote, they start reprimanding Stu. They say, hey man, he's not a worker, bro. He's not a wrestler. He's a fan. He's here to watch the show. He's not a worker. And And of course, immediately Psycho Stu begins to apologize. He apologizes to this kid 3 times. 3 times. The kid is on video shaking hands with Psycho Stu and saying, no, I understand. No, I get it now. I get it now. Shaking hands with him. And here's where the fuckery really begins. Here's where the shit show really begins. It's not in the ring. It's not in the ring when this kid hops in there and does what he did. It's not there. It's right here. Because then Psycho Stu, along with other Knox wrestling personnel, proceed to give this kid permission to go up in the ring, do a little cameo appearance, run in, and shoot for a double leg takedown on Psycho Stu. Give him a double leg takedown and call it a night. Give him a receipt for that beer can hit. Okay, cool. So of course, little Raja agrees to do that, and then it happens. The match is going down, Psycho Stu versus some other clown. I don't know who. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful. This poor guy could have lost his life. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just outraged by this. As a professional wrestling enthusiast, I'm embarrassed by this. Honestly, I'm embarrassed by what I witnessed. But this kid jumps in the ring. He interferes towards the end of the match. Instead of shooting for a double leg take, well, he does. He shoots for a double leg takedown, but he doesn't take him down. He lifts him up in a Alabama slam position. That's essentially what the move he did on him, is an Alabama slammer. But it wasn't a worked Alabama slam. It wasn't a professionally done Alabama slam. This kid slammed the fuck out of that man. I mean, his head bounced off of that canvas like a basketball in a basketball court. He slammed the dog shit out that man. And listen, that by itself, never mind the punches. Let's forget about the punches. Let's pretend that the punches didn't even happen. Just that by itself was a disgrace. That by itself was a fucking disgrace. And anybody who approved of that spot should be held accountable, should be held liable. If I'm Psycho Stu, I'm filing all kind of lawsuits, baby. I am owning that promotion after this point. I'm filing every lawsuit in the book. I'm calling Saul Goodman, homie. Everybody's going down. But anyway, so that slam was gnarly by itself, okay? The guy, listen, if Stu wasn't already knocked out cold just from that slam, he was out of it. He was seeing stars. He was singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars in his head. He was halfway out of it if he wasn't already completely knocked out cold from that body slam. But then the icing, the cherry on top of the shit sundae, this fucking kid proceeds to go Super Saiyan, Dragon Ball Z status, and just starts battering that man with his fist as hard as he can. Like, if you animated this shit, it looked like, you know, his fists were punching the guy's face through the floor. It was nasty. He gave him, so it's been reported, I didn't count, but other people have been saying on Twitter that he punched him a total of 22 times. 22 times. A clearly defenseless, helpless man that put his trust into this kid to give him a receipt for the fucking empty beer can attack, which again, I've been hit harder by my mama than that. That wasn't no fucking hit. Throw a fucking pear, man. But I just, when I see stuff like that, and you know, you best believe this kid is going to jail. He's going to jail, and I hope they throw the book out that motherfucker. I hope, just because he's the son of Rampage Jackson, a mediocre celebrity. What if Rampage Jackson is a celebrity? He's got to be a Z-lister, a D-lister. I don't even know what you call him. I mean, he was famous in UFC. I don't know who he. I don't know. I'm not gonna disrespect his career because I don't know much about it. I'm just talking out my ass. I'm just outraged by this incident. But I hope they throw the book at that kid, because just because his dad is Rampage Jackson, I don't give a fuck. They need to throw the book at that kid And if I'm Psycho Stu, I'm filing a lawsuit out the ass. Everybody's going down. I'm gonna own that promotion by the time this year is over with. I'll put it like that. But this is disgraceful, and this is why you don't let untrained professionals, get in the ring, in the wrestling ring. I mean, I understand kind of where they're coming from, because they figure, look, he's an MMA fighter. Most MMA guys, pro wrestling is second nature to these guys, most of them. I think back at when AEW allowed, what's his name? Masvidal. They let Masvidal and Junior Dos Santos have a match in AEW and have some spots, and they didn't look half bad. Especially Masvidal. He didn't look half bad. Most MMA fighters, they actually take to wrestling very naturally. It comes from that amateur wrestling pedigree. Because pro wrestling, it's a work, it's this and that, it's stunts and spots, but pro wrestling, does stem from amateur collegiate wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling and all that jazz. You know what I mean? That's the foundation of professional wrestling. So these guys take to it naturally. So I could see these guys like, he's trained, let him shoot for a double leg takedown and send the crowd home happy. The 14 people that are here, put a smile on their faces. I guess this kid is popular on Kick. Listen, man, if I'm a promoter and there's a famous personality attending my show, which that's being generous to Raja. I never knew who this guy was up until last night. And unless you're a public figure that is generating well over 500,000 viewers and clicks on your content, I'm not doing nothing with you. But listen, if I'm a promoter, if I'm the booker, and that kid happens to be attending my mud show, and yeah, he has like 800,000 followers and his videos average like 300,000 views and clicks, okay, I'm gonna give that kid an entrance. I'm gonna invite him to the ring. I'm gonna give him an entrance theme, whatever music he wants to come out to, and I'm gonna let him talk shit to the crowd and promote his social media handles. That's about it. I'm not gonna let this fucking guy put his hands on my talents. You're liable for shit like that. And this is why you don't do shit like that. Because of this. You got a guy who's clearly mentally deranged. This kid is emotional. I don't know what kind of trauma he has. I don't know if his mama was in his life or what the case is with this kid. But clearly he has some kind of emotional issues, anger management. He got maybe some fucking, clinical depression going on. I don't know what's up with this kid. But he clearly has mental problems to act like that. Acting like a female on her rag that ain't seen penis in 5 years. This kid has issues. And you wouldn't have known because nobody knows who this guy is. That's a shame on this institution. Knox Pro Wrestling and everybody a part of that should be ashamed of themselves. I want to say I was gonna end this audio, but I want to say one last thing. I see nobody's talking about this. Everybody is shitting on the referee. Yeah, I've seen that, but nobody's talking about this. While the referee is watching this kid assault this man, attempt murder on this man, he's just standing there looking like an absolute clown with his dick in his hand. Meanwhile, another indie mud show Joker is trying to break up, trying to stop him with minimal effort. I don't know if he was scared, he was intimidated. I would have jumped on that boy. I would have jumped on him and put him in a fucking sleeper hole, dog. I don't care if he fucks me up. I'm trying to save somebody's life. But this clown wrestler, he literally looked like a clown too. He had paint on his face. But he was trying to stop Raja with minimal effort. And then a minute later, a bigger wrestler comes into the ring, a big Haas. He comes in and he finally is able to get Raja off of him, and he even puts him in a powerbomb position, it looks like. And I just wanted to say this, because nobody else is saying this. If that big wrestler didn't hop in there, okay, and stop that, Raja would have continued. he would have continued to batter Psycho Stu, and he'd probably be dead. He would probably be dead right now as I'm talking. He'd probably be dead. Because I'm hearing the last update that I saw, he's making recovery. He woke up, thank God. Again, I'm sure that fucking guy is also thanking his lucky stars that he woke up. But if that big wrestler that intervened, you know, if he didn't intervene, this man would probably be dead right now. Because I don't think Raja Jackson would have stopped battering him. So I just wanted to say that because I don't see no one else saying that. I don't see nobody else talking about that. But that is that's full-blown attempted murder. That's full-blown attempted murder and premeditated murder too, if you think about it. Because they gave him permission to hop into the ring. Yeah, they gave him permission to perform, quote unquote, to shoot for a double leg takedown. Instead, he slams the fuck out this man's head and smashes on him like Goku. I mean, nah, bro. That's premeditated attempted murder. Okay? In the 3rd degree, 2nd, I don't know what degree. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what degree, but that's attempted murder. And that's premeditated. That boy should go to prison. Not jail. He should go to prison. And I hope they throw the book at his ass. You know, that's the type of shit you don't want to see. You know, I'm embarrassed to be a pro wrestling enthusiast right now. I'm embarrassed. Because that type of shit should not happen anywhere. I don't care if it's a low budget ass wrestling school trying to put on a show. I don't care. That kind of shit should not be happening. That is an absolute embarrassment to pro wrestling. But you know what? That ain't even pro wrestling. I ain't even calling that pro wrestling. I don't know what that is. That Knox Wrestling Academy. That's if I'm a wrestler that's training, that's trying to find a good wrestling school to learn the ropes, I'm absolutely ignoring Knox Pro Wrestling. I ain't going there. Hell nah. That place is it's dangerous. Clearly, they don't protect their students. They don't protect their talent. It's a shame and it's a disgrace. That is not professional wrestling.